What's up world, Michael here with another video. For today's topic, we're going to look at common misconceptions and myths that anime fans have. We're also going to look at why they persisted for so long and why they need to finally be left in 2024 so we can progress as a people in 2025. Okay, maybe it ain't that serious. But seriously, we have to clear some of these things up. Whether it comes from an anime fan just getting into the medium or well-seasoned anime fans who watch everything under the sun, we have all fallen victim to believing one of these misconceptions, and this video going into 2025 is meant to clear things up. So let's get into it. But before we do, remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Okay, number 5. The manga demographic system is a hard and fast categorization for anime. Okay, so for those not in the know, what I mean by the demographic system is when anime are called shonen, shoujo, josei, seinen, that's actually in reference not to a genre, but to the demographic that the anime is catered to. But here's the thing though, that's only a thing for manga, and we gotta stop being so hung up on the manga demographic system by classification when it comes to anime. Now, you're probably saying, it's harmless, who cares? But here's the thing, anime fans will ignore in-your-face data that an anime is popular with X demographic because the manga that it was adapted from was classified as aimed for a different demographic. Anime like Kaguya-sama Love is War is popular with the adult female audience, so let's capitalize on that, right? Nope, it's a seinen. Inuyasha was a hit with young females, so let's say it's good for both teenage girls and teenage boys, right? No, because it was in a shonen magazine. Kids from 9 to 13 love My Hero Academia, so shouldn't we cater it to kids more and call it a kodomo? No, shonen. Maid-sama has a large male fan base, so it's a shonen, right? No, sweetheart, it's a shoujo. And it's not because of anything else than these manga that the anime were adapted from came from a certain magazine. Yeah, you heard me right. A lot of times it doesn't actually have to do with the demographic the manga or anime is actually in. Well, actually the last one is, it's got a huge female audience. But do you see what my point is here? So why does this happen? Well, it all started from the magazine system, sure, but more accurately, the magazine system and the manga to anime adaptation pipeline. So this is probably another video for another time to explain this more in depth, but the Cole's Notes version is this. While catering to demographics was always a thing, at some point in the 70s and the 80s, publishing houses started to be more overt with which demographic they were catering to via the magazine system because money. It was money. My personal theory is that with the rise of the Gakaiga style of drawing in the 70s, the manga industry needed a way to differentiate kid manga from more teenage and adult manga, but neither here nor there. Which, to its credit, led to some really cool and diverse works in terms of originality of storyline. For example, Clamp, the all-female manga group, was famously pushing out some really awesome shoujo manga they would then give to shoujo magazines. As a result, the 90s was an absolute golden age for female battle manga shoujo. And that countered the male battle manga takeover, which, cool, because competition breeds better quality. But going back on topic, from the magazine system inception, the demographic association just kind of stuck in manga, and because of the manga to animation adaptation pipeline being practically a conveyor belt in Japan, a practice that happens in manga will somehow also be a practice in anime, or at least the anime whose source material is the manga it's adapted from. Meaning, if it's a shonen in manga, it'll most likely be a shonen in anime. Not even because of the demographics that naturally, organically go to it, but because of the way people associate manga and anime together. Now, if I haven't been clear already, I want to be clear now. I think it is good on some level we get some explicitly demographic catered manga magazines because it makes sure that manga fans aren't alienated, but it's probably time to get rid of it in the anime world because you damn well know both the manga magazines and the anime studios would love their popular IP to be popular with everyone if they could. It's just that the way to distribute manga is different than the way to distribute anime. The reason I say that is because it really ruins an anime's potential on who it should be catering to, and instead it just stunts its visibility. Because we said, oh, it's only for X or Y. Look, I know most anime fans don't treat these demographics like a set genre, but we sure as hell act like it sometimes, only to cut a show's popularity off at the knees. We are so rigid on who an anime should be catered to, and that's a shame. Okay, I've talked your ear off enough on this one. Let's go to the next topic. Misconception number 4, Shonen R for kids. Okay, so sticking on the demographic topic in anime, let's talk about what is probably the most niche topic on the list, but I think the consequences it has had has low-key been devastating to the perception of anime amongst the normies. There is this perception that shonen are for kids, and this has made it really hard to push anime from a niche topic where the odd show here and there break out into the mainstream to an actual mainstream phenomenon. It's more accepted, sure, but it's definitely still a niche thing. This is because people keep thinking that shonen are for kids, and as a result, it has this weird contradictory but detrimental effect. People will make fun of others who are in high school / adulthood for watching anime because, quote unquote, it's for kids, yet those same people will get mad when you as a person above the age of 13, or at least that's what my analytics tell me, will watch a risque scene in a shonen because they think shonen aren't supposed to be as raunchy as some of them are. And even though we're mature enough and should be okay with the subject matter, because we and people on the outside looking in think that show is for kids, we get more grossed out by the suggestive themes of a shonen. I know how I'm explaining it is admittedly confusing, but stay with me. Okay, let's use fan service in shonen as an example here. I know I've developed a reputation as the anti-fan service guy in the anime YouTube community, when in reality, not really. I mean, to be clear, for the non-anime fans, when we say fan service, I'm talking about the tatas and the nyash. Now, do I think that in the modern age, fan service is usually a red flag for an anime with lazy storytelling? Yes. Do I think that mangakas use fan service as a crutch? Yes. But I would never advocate for getting rid of it entirely because A, we've seen fan service be used to portray effective storytelling. B, we're all over the age of 13 and love bodies that way. It's not a problem. And C, which is most important to this topic right now, it's my theory we have this misconception on who these anime with heavy fan service content are catered to. Most fan service heavy anime are in the shonen or seinen demo, and since most adults get their fan service content elsewhere in one way or another, it's gonna mostly be in shonen for the shock effect. The Narutos, the My Hero Academias, the Fire Forces, and even the Inuyashas and the original Dragon Ball weren't exactly shying away from that content because of that. Some people think that these shows are for kids and will give you the side eye when you watch it as a mature adult or teenager, yet will get mad at the fan service of the anime in that show. Notably, Inuyasha and the original Dragon Ball were very, very nudity heavy. And my educated guess as to why these people are so mad is it's partly got something to do with along the lines of, why are we showing kids this stuff? Here's the funny thing though, it's not for kids. Well, kinda. Let me back up. The point of categorizing of the demographic for shonen is meant to capture the group of teenage boys transitioning to adulthood, just as shoujos are meant to capture the market of teenage girls transitioning to adulthood. And trust me, it's not like shoujo, especially old school shoujo, haven't had their share of steamy content, but that's another video for another time. Anyway, no matter how many times I explain that anime in the shonen category are for the most part equivalent to the North Americans' PG rating for some shonen or 14A rating for others, no matter how many times I explain that this is why shows like Naruto and Inuyasha were only shown at night for a reason, and no matter how many times I explain the category's origins, it seems like this misconception has stuck. The reason why is threefold. One is the way that people define the age range of shonen is oftentimes confusing and inconsistent. While I agree it's for boys transitioning to adulthood, so teenagers, I've seen people cast the net as wide as 9 to 18. And while I would define it as 13 to 18 or 14 to 18, the more common definition is 12 to 18. In my opinion, this is kind of where we need to break the shonen demographics up into kind of like a shonen 1 that is for ages 9 to 13, kind of like PG-13 here, where we fit shows like Old School Shaman King, Kingdom, Full Metal Alchemist, My Hero, AOT, etc., and a shonen 2 for the age range of 14 to 18, where shows like Seven Deadly Sins, One Piece, and Fire Force can stay. So on that level, okay, I understand the argument the other side has. With that being said, still there is an understanding that some of the shows in shonen are not for kids. Even the PG-13 shows, technically speaking, aren't for kids in that way. Two, I think there is a significant issue in the way we market shonen anime. I feel like in a lot of ways, the anime industry will say shonen isn't for kids when pressed about it. But at the same time, a lot of the companies market to kids in these covert ways. Toys, merch, etc. Now, to be fair, they are not the only industry that does this, and they certainly aren't the most malicious. Adult entertainment looking at you, but this has led to some unneeded scrutiny. However, three, and probably the most prevalent, people just have a misconception that cartoons are just for kids. This kind of thinking is starting to be a thing of the past when it comes to Western cartoons, but I think this kind of thinking has unfortunately stuck when it comes to shonen anime, and it's kind of hard to rub off. I don't think I need to tell you why this has to go away on a surface level, but I'll tell you anyway. It just allows shonen anime fans to be less defensive about watching what they like, with the added context that it's for teenage boys / adults, so suggestive themes aren't as bad with that in mind. But I think on a higher level, we can have a much more nuanced conversation of how poorly anime writers and mangakas write sometimes, as we could talk about how a lot of them use shock value as a crutch, and as a people, we can move past the inappropriateness of a shonen anime or manga. In my opinion, anime more often than not uses shock value to hide poor writing decisions and animation, so that we get hung up on that to forget about the other stuff. Using the previous example of fan service, the problem isn't the jiggle physics or the outfits. The problem is the way a mangaka gets lazy with their female characters and not put forth an actual character on ink because, oh, boobies. In 2025, we have to stop allowing anime writers and mangakas to get lazy by making the conversation less about appropriateness and more about why they make the writing choices they make. 3. An anime's animation is good because it looks good. So this is more of an animation industry thing in general than an anime thing, but I hear it more commonly associated with anime because of a reason I'll point to later. Now, my annoyance with this one may be personal, but for whatever reason, it bothers me like an itch in the middle part of my upper back. Let me explain what I mean by this statement. So let's say your friend recommends a great anime, and he or she say to you, the animation is so good, only for you to watch and realize that the animation is average at best And what they really meant is the anime's art style really catches their eye. See, for the uninitiated, art style is how a character's design and scenes look in tandem with each other. Animation is how the characters and environment move or interact with each other through movement. Now, for the record, there's nothing wrong with thinking an anime looks good simply because of the art. The thing is, though, that's not animation. And in all honesty, it's even more frustrating because I kind of know where this mistake comes from. To me, anime fans have this obsession with wanting to be the smartest people in the room or the one with the smart talking point. So they'll bring up things like animation, when in all honesty, in reality, unless it's really egregious, most people cannot tell good animation from bad animation. But you know what the human eye can tell they like or don't like right away? Art. If I had a nickel for every time I asked a person to show me an instance of good or bad animation, only for them to not come back with something, or only to come back with somebody's regurgitated talking point, I'd be rich. Now, you might say, hey Michael, at the end of the day, it all has to do with visual aesthetics. What's the problem? Well, first of all, we scare a lot of people off with this kind of rhetoric because of where it usually leads to. More specifically, brother, you're scaring off the hose. 2, it makes it really hard for people to recognize when there's actually a good instance of good animation in unconventional art. For example, in some parts of the anime Ranking of Kings, the animation goes absolutely crazy, but no one talks about it because the art is unconventional or at least different from the typical anime. And 3, anime and animation has become way more expensive, thus leading to longer wait times. So I'm all for waiting for quality that we can actually notice, but for animation, most people can't. And that usually takes the longest time to perfect and do right for an anime production. So what are we really doing here besides shooting ourselves in our foot? All I'm saying is that if we want to be smart about it, if we truly want to be smart about it, then let's point out the difference in 2025. Because then it makes sense for delay times to actually be as long as they are when it comes to anime. Alright, misconception number 2. A simple story is a bad story. Right off the bat, I'm going to tell you, this is another instance of anime fans wanting to be the smartest people in the room with an outlier or the smart opinion. And honestly, this one's even worse in my opinion because it's more of an indication that people who say this don't know what they're talking about. And it's usually just a thinly veiled attempt at making someone feel bad for liking a show. I know this because the complaint only coincidentally is mentioned with popular shows. One Piece, Demon Slayer, Black Clover, etc. All have been accused of this at some point on some level in the last couple of years. And if there's one thing an anime fan cannot resist, it's being a hipster. The irony of all this is that this opinion is no longer an outlier opinion. It's a minority opinion, sure, but now it's a mantra amongst the group saying it. So it doesn't make you special to say it. You're just a sheep following a different shepherd. I'm being a bit mean to say it like that, but do you get what I'm trying to say? We need better analysis in 2025 than just, oh, an anime story is simple and that's why it's bad. This is why I'm very careful when explaining why a show to me is bad or just okay. Example, Sword Art Online is bad because of short-sighted writing decisions. Wistoria's story is average at best because there's a feeling of unoriginality. Shield Hero's writing quality has dipped because there aren't any more compelling character dynamics. All things I've said on this channel. And I could go on, but you get the point. You will never hear me say a story is bad because it's simple. Why? Well, it's due to the fact that simple stories can be effective stories. And sometimes the stories that connect with people the most are the simplest ones. Now, I am by no means saying that the best story is the most simplest and popular story. That is crazy talk too. But my point is that taking in a story for entertainment purposes does not have to be homework for it to be effective. Now, analyzing a story's messaging and realizing there's more that meets the eye is fun for sure, but can also be there in simple storytelling. One Piece is a guy trying to be a pirate king, sure, but the story is full of themes addressing media propaganda, racial discrimination, and the idea of self-determination. Demon Slayer is a revenge plot, sure, but it's chock full of themes of family, coping with loss, and dealing with tragedy. Black Clover is a story about a guy constantly yelling at you that he's going to be Wizard King, sure, but it's also a story of perseverance and is trying to teach you that following your dreams is easier in the right environment. That's why Asta only got successful when he was on the Black Bulls. Do you see what I'm trying to explain here? These stories are worthwhile and resonate with people for a reason. That doesn't mean that they can't be bad, and it doesn't mean that they can't be good either. You just have to understand why they're good or bad past the point of simplicity. And this is the sad thing in all this for anime fans who do this. In dismissing something for being too in your face, you don't get to fully explore what this simple anime is trying to tell you. A simple story can be an effective story. End of story. And number one, anime isn't political. So this is the one I just get annoyed with because you know exactly where this comes from, but people aren't being honest with you. Now, be in my position, okay? Imagine watching Gundam, Kill la Kill, Neon Genesis Evangelion, Gurren Lagann, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Trigun, Zom 100, even shows like Naruto, Hunter x Hunter, and One Piece. And then you have the usual suspects telling you that anime isn't political. Even shows like Code Geass, Blue Lock, and Attack on Titan, whose politics are all over the place, still have politics in it. If I wanted to, I can go in shockingly large detail about how every one of these shows are political too, because it's so in your face. So how do you not take away that anime is political, and furthermore that talking politics doesn't affect the quality of the show? If anything, when anime talks politics, it makes the show better because it's more relatable to you. Okay, so with that added context, let's play the Imagine game again. Imagine being me again, and you hear some people on the internet saying anime isn't political, and that's why those shows are good and the Western shows are bad. When you've seen all the politics in anime and how it's displayed on screen. Sometimes when I hear this, I get the urge to do things like jump off of a large building. Like, it's crazy. But back on topic. I think I understand why people say this, and I've kind of already alluded to it. My theory is, simply put, usually people who say this do not feel satisfied with the messaging in Western nerd media. So we're talking Western fantasy and Western comic book media. That's why a lot of people who say this tend to be Western. Let's put it like that. Anyway, they're not satisfied with the Western media, and usually it's Western media that's considered nerdy or was considered in nerdy medium in the past, and they more specifically don't like its push to talk politics for whatever reason. Make of the reasons you will, but I will not today because I do not have the time. We're already 23 minutes in. So anyway, these people feel disillusioned with their Western media, but to not be called out on their Western media disillusionment, and more specifically, other really tough words and choice words to say to them, they will look at the popularity of anime and use its popularity as an excuse to say, hey, it's popular because it's not political, so I'm not X, Y, or Z, I'm just stating facts. When in reality, anime has been political and is arguably at its best when it's political. Imagine seeing Cyberpunk Edgerunners and not thinking that anime isn't at its best when it's political, when Cyberpunk Edgerunners was better than the video game it was based off of, and was chock full of anti-capitalist politics. Now, will I sit here and pretend there isn't a dip in Western nerd media, so to speak? Of course not. But is the culprit of this dip likely corporatism and the constant passing of an IP that was not theirs to begin with than it is quote unquote politics? Yes, okay? Also, it's not like anime hasn't suffered the same dip for the same reasons. 3 years ago, I made a video on isekai representing a dip in anime storytelling, and it was done for the exact same reason. Stop allowing your anime-loving friend to say this, not just because it's wrong point blank, but look, at some point, your friend has to grow up and engage with the politics around his world and the political topics in a show and grapple with that in an effective but non-destructive way. You may not agree with the politics in a show every time. You may feel a little stupid that you don't get the politics upon first watch. You may even get called out by the politics on the show and feel like you're being attacked. Lord knows I've been there on every single one of those fronts. But again, grow up. There are politics in literally every media platform, nerdy or otherwise. Acknowledge the politics are there. You can disagree or agree with it wherever you'd like, and then move on. All right, that's the list. Thank you guys for watching. Just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank y'all for the support. I know I haven't been as active as I was last year, or at least at the beginning of last year. A lot of it has to do with some of the financial reasons. I've been working a lot of jobs, and so as a result, I've been really tired when it comes to the video making, but I'm going to try my best to put out some content that I really like, and I think you guys will like. Y'all have a great rest of your day, and until next time, I will see you soon.